And we got used to that slow pace. We did a lot of waiting and resting and a lot of playing rummy, just relaxing. And so when I think what was coming over the next year was a bit easier to handle.
Because you had that time of rest and relaxation.
Yeah, we did. And not just the rest, but God really did some stuff in us while we were there. I mean, I went through a really, really dark depression as a result of what, I know now it was a result of the MS. I think having, sort of gone through that really low time and coming out of it, it helped us deal with what was coming up. I mean, I'm not saying it was easy, but plus we had a baby during that time, so there was joy and sorrow and all that stuff mixed up.
Would you say that, now obviously mission, when I get a chance to go to the mission field, go to India, it really alters your entire worldview when just spending time in a different culture and with an entirely different way of life. And I know that has to have that impact for you as well. Would you say that when it came to the time to write the songs for the newest album, Wide Open Spaces, what was more impactful? Was it the MS you were dealing with? Was it the time spent on the mission field, or I mean, I say mission field, but time spent serving in South Africa? Was it the joy of the new child? I mean, or was it just everything? Or can you pinpoint? I know certain songs probably can pinpoint different things that had a bigger impact. But what would you say?
I mean, I think. During all of this, I never stopped writing songs. So you can listen to the record and you listen to a song like Stop the Bleeding and you can kind of go, man, I see where that guy was when he wrote that. But there's also songs like The Time of My Life and Wide Open Spaces that come from the fun part of it. I mean, we had a lot of fun during that time in Africa. And even when we got back, the MS diagnosis for me was a bit of a relief because I had had so many symptoms for so long. And so, people hear our testimony and they read our bio and they hear some of our story and they go, oh, that must have been so hard. And it was so hard, but it was also so good. It was so good to be away. It was so good. I can say this, and tell you guys in full honesty that I'm not just in denial or kidding myself, but even the MS thing has been a gift because it's helped me to slow down and see Jennifer and the kids more and just have a different perspective.
This is really good.
Yeah, well, I heard a preacher on last Saturday, a man named N.T. Wright. He said something that was really profound. Two things, actually. One was he was talking about that liturgy as part of service and how incorporating liturgy into modern services is a sign of ministerial humility. Rather than just a lack of spontaneity. And I was just floored by that. I mean, how do I spend my entire life having never heard that before? How maybe somebody else has something to say to us. Yeah. And then he added that rest, a Sabbathing, it's not keeping the Sabbath, but just recognizing that we're built to Sabbath on a regular basis, to take times of rest, is also a sign of humility before God, because it just simply says, my agenda is less important than God's agenda. And as I was reading through, your bios and some of the things you wrote about the songs, that I thought about that. I said, wow, this is, rest is so we look upon rest, especially here, as not accomplishing things. And it's just, as almost being lazy, but really it's a sign of humility before God. To acknowledge you built us this way and you've given us this gift, and also we can put our agenda aside.
Wow,
that's really good.
That's good because most people don't come and talk about this. We rested and we did nothing. Well, it's not that you did nothing.
No, we did nothing. No, we did.
Okay.
No, because we really did. I mean, he would have people say, what'd you do this week? And he's like, nothing. I mean, we couldn't do anything. We were in a holding spot. I mean, we were hemmed in.
But we'll talk a little more about that too then, because some of us, when nothing's happening, you feel like you're missing God. You're not supposed to be doing, like, you want to accomplish this plan that he has for your life, and if you're doing nothing, then you're not doing what God wants you to do somehow. Yeah.
Well, I mean, nothing has such like a sort of a negative connotation to it, I think, for us. I know, I mean, I had to get over that a little bit. When we got back from Africa and then Jennifer was pregnant, and so we were like, okay, let's not go back out on the road because that's not going to work. Until the baby's born, at least, and then I was diagnosed. And during my diagnosis appointment, when the doctor was finally like, "This is what you have. This is what it looks like for you for the rest of your life." And, he gave me the option to be in a clinical trial for a new drug. But the the whole caveat with that was you have to wait for it to become available, and it's chemo, so you have to wait for it to become available, and you can't book anything on the other side of it because you don't know how you're going to feel. And so that was kind of the time that it went shut way down, because it was like, we can't think about going out on the road. There's not even a, hey, God, when should we do it? It was like, I can't do anything. And that was from August. That was probably about 8 months. And we didn't do, I asked God, what do you want me to do now? What do you want me to do during this time? Is there anything you have for me? And it was no. And it's just coming back, no. I hung out with my kids. I raked leaves.
Awesome.
That was it.
But they'll probably always remember that. That'll always be something that well, what are the blessings, though, that you can see now that came out of it, that time?
Probably that.
Yeah.
Just spending time together,
And that's what's important.
Yeah, and I think, all of that time together, and it makes you come to terms with some of the stuff that maybe you would overlook if you were just going through your normal routine. It's stuff with our marriage and, decisions about what house we want to live in, what kind of life we want to have. What the stuff that was important to us before this became a lot less important. And also, Jennifer talks about this in some of our concerts, how God taught us to live for just the brokenness of the moment, not to be looking ahead to what's coming. You could probably explain it better, but.
Oh, well. We were spending some time with my parents. I was staying at my parents' house and just praying. They have this farm near St. Louis, and I was just praying and, God, what's next? That was our constant question. What's next? What do you want for us to do next? Because we just thought we'd come home from Africa and we'd have this big plan laid out and we'd be going on. And I felt like God just stopped me and said, I'm here now, and all you're worried about is what's next. And you keep talking about what's next, and I just want to spend time with you here and now. And it just hit me. We need to stop asking those questions.
Always concerned about the future.
Right.
Without
Don't live
enjoying the present.
Don't live in the minute. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's in our church culture too. And this is to say nothing against the purpose-driven life, but even that title, the purpose-driven life, the purpose-driven church, we need that, some of it. But it also, that takes us sometimes away from, well, what if the purpose is just being here with God right now? What if the purpose is just, the Bible says, in returning and rest is your salvation, in quietness and trust is your strength. I think living with a purpose is, necessary. But sometimes, even in that living with purpose, God says nothing right now. He gives us this void so that we can just spend time with Him.
Well, and I think if we have a life that's truly in a mindset that's truly bent towards service and being available for service, which is really the way the life is, if you're constantly saying what's next, I think God will probably deliver the service opportunities to us in ways that are relatively unexpected.
Right.
Yeah, He knows where to find us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we keep asking Him what's next, and sometimes I go, look, God's going, I can tell you what's next when it's time for you to know.
And He did. He told us later. It took a couple months for Him to actually open some doors for us to move really, really, really slowly. But in His timing, we did move forward. We didn't have to stay sitting for so long.
This is such a good message. It's so funny. I was in Greensboro, North Carolina last week and talking to our top engineer, our VP of engineering, and he said, I've learned something heard it in a sermon about the dash. When you look at a tombstone, there's a day you were born, the day you died, and what's that little dash in between is the life that you lived. And people are looking to the past and they're looking to the future, like you're saying, and they forget to live in the moment. And maybe this is like going to become more popular way to think and just to rest in God, because I think what you guys are saying is pretty unusual for people to say. It's a great message. It's amazing, but
I've not seen it become popular. Just when
I know.
Not in
I know.
American
That's what I'm
culture.
saying.
No, not in this culture, because it's easier to do something than it is to just wait.
Because you don't. It's like you're not important enough if you're not doing something. You don't have
Right.
this list of things that you're doing.
Right. Yeah.